Pregnancies are usually very delightful moments for parents, as it marks a period in anticipation where they get to expect a new baby. Most pregnancies usually happen in the youthful days of a woman. However, there are some rare cases where even older women get pregnant and deliver babies. Such is the story of Vivian, a 55-year-old lady who gave birth to twins. Also, if you've not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now back to the story. There are quite a couple of things you do when you get old, but most of it usually involves living your best life. And that was exactly what Vivian was doing. Vivian was doing really well for herself, and things were absolutely normal until she started adding weight unusually. She couldn't explain why she would suddenly add weight, even though she didn't really eat much or do anything that would make her gain weight. Despite this, Vivian did not see any cause to raise an alarm, even though the weight gain came with some pain which would weaken her. This was, however, not going to stop her from going to her best friend's birthday party. Vivian got ready and headed for her friend's house, where the party would be holding. After exchanging pleasantries and wishing the celebrant well on her birthday, it was time for food, and she sat at the dining table together with her best friend and her husband. They made jokes over eating and had wine after a while. Suddenly, Vivian started to have one of those frequent pains she had been having. This then led to her leaving the dining to get to the balcony to try to get fresh air. However, she wouldn't even make it to the balcony as she fell, causing her friend to run to her aid. Seeing that she was in serious pain, Vivian's friend called an ambulance, and it didn't really take long for it to get there. Vivian was then assisted into the ambulance where a young paramedic was waiting to attend to her. He took a close look at her, trying to get more details or a diagnosis as to what was happening, and then the next words from his mouth shocked Vivian. The young doctor asked, quote-unquote, "How many weeks?" This question sounded very strange to Vivian, as she didn't even know what to think and had to ask the doctor for clarity, after which he hit the big news that she was indeed pregnant. Suddenly, reality hit Vivian, and she could not help but try to understand how she got pregnant, especially considering her age. She was a 55-year-old woman, and usually at that age, you don't always expect to be pregnant, especially since she had already given birth before and wasn't expecting any baby. Things immediately took a fast turn as Vivian's water broke right in the ambulance. She needed to deliver the baby immediately, and they were not even close to the hospital yet. The young doctor, who was looking a little terrified, calmed Vivian and told her that things would be fine. Soon after, the loud cry of a baby is heard, and with that, the baby was successfully delivered. However, that wasn't all, as the doctor informed her that it looked like she was going to go into delivery yet again. And just like that, another baby was heard, making it a twin delivery. Vivian was not the only one shocked at her ability to give birth to twins at her age, as the driver of the ambulance was also quite confused, because he had never seen any situation like this in his years of working with the hospital. After the delivery, it didn't take long for Vivian and her babies to get to the hospital, where the babies were then taken to the maternity unit and placed in a sterile box for premature babies. Vivian was also taken to the unit, and that was when the oldest daughter came to see her. Vivian's daughter, Camilla, was just as shocked as everyone who had either learned or heard of the situation. She didn't know what to say or which words to use, as she just couldn't explain the situation herself. She even asked her mom who the father was, but Vivian didn't seem too happy to answer. Camilla's husband, Scott, was also in the room to congratulate his mother-in-law, and he was the one who first got a sudden, shocking revelation. Camilla noticed that her husband seemed to be glued to his phone, with an expression of shock on his face. He then told Camilla that he was looking at the pictures of the babies which were taken by one of the nurses in the unit where the babies were taken to. She didn't quite understand why he was shocked until she took the phone and glanced at the babies in the picture. On seeing the picture, she flared up immediately and looked angry, and then faced her husband. The babies had the same birthmark as Scott, and there was absolutely no way he could explain to his wife that he had nothing to do with her mother, because Camilla wasn't even ready to listen. While the two were arguing as to what the birthmarks could mean, Vivian just stared, ashamed of what happened and not being able to tell them, at least yet. After a while, Camilla left angrily, leaving Scott to plead with Vivian to say something to Camilla and tell her that the baby was not his own, and he had nothing to do with it, even if he couldn't still figure out the right explanation. He was just scared of losing Camilla, who already threatened to file for divorce and leave him. After he left, Vivian felt ashamed of herself and continued to cry for a while. She soon got tired, and just then she was left reminiscing about what led to the pregnancy and the two babies, which was surely causing a problem between Camilla and Scott. It all happened during a family introduction where Vivian and Camilla went to pay a visit to Scott's father, who was living in a serene environment in the countryside. Lawrence, Scott's father, had been anticipating his meeting with his son's fiancée and her mother, who was coming along with her. When they arrived with Scott, Lawrence treated them to a good meal, after which they all got to knowing each other. Lawrence was an ex-military soldier who had lost his wife, Scott's mother, a few years ago. Things were quite interesting between Lawrence and Vivian, who couldn't get their eyes off each other. Later on, when they were supposed to leave, Lawrence asked Vivian to wait and leave the next day while the couple went on their own. His offer was too good to refuse, as she was already in love with the serenity of Lawrence's country house. And what harm could waiting an extra day cause? She waited, and it didn't take both of them long to get romantic later in the night, as they had been admiring each other all day long. The next morning, Vivian woke up feeling a little ashamed at what she had just done. However, she hoped it was not something she would have to revisit. She also didn't have to worry about consequences, because to her, she was getting old, and it couldn't be possible to get pregnant and give birth to a child, not to mention twins. After the period of reminiscing, Vivian realized she had to do something. She had to inform her daughter and Scott about it so it could clear the air. However, before she did, she first put a call through to Lawrence, who sounded so indifferent over the phone. This seemed to worry Vivian, but not long after, her worst fears would be cleared. Lawrence came in with a bright smile on his face. He expressed his happiness and even wanted them to give the twins wonderful names. Almost immediately, Vivian was also very happy about this, and she couldn't help but think about how life with Lawrence would be. After Vivian and the babies were discharged, they moved to the countryside with Lawrence, who preferred for the kids to start their early life in the serene environment of the countryside instead of staying in the city. Scott and Camilla, who already knew about Lawrence being the baby's father, also came to visit them every now and again. Vivian was so happy, as she couldn't have wished for a better way to spend her old age, with 2 new kids and in the arms of someone who loved her dearly. Cases like Vivian's are really rare. However, there are other cases of where women in their old age or nearing old age gave birth to not just 1, but 2 babies at once. In Nigeria, a 68-year-old woman named Margaret Adenuga gave birth to twins in 2020 after she had previously had 3 failed IVF procedures. Unlike Vivian, the babies were Margaret's first time as a mother, and she couldn't contain her excitement. One of the specialists on the case, Dr. Adeyemi Okonowo, talked about the pregnancy being a risky procedure, but was happy they were able to work their way around it. Quote, "As an elderly woman and a first-time mother, it was a high-risk pregnancy, and also because she was going to have twins, but we were able to manage her pregnancy to term. There are age-related medical complications that come with being pregnant at that age, such as the baby being born preterm. She is lucky, but many may succumb to other complications during or after having a baby," unquote. Dr. Okonowo said, "Margaret is also not the first known case of giving birth at such an old age, as an even older woman in India, aged 73 years, gave birth to twin girls after conceiving through IVF. The Indian woman, Yamarati, called it the happiest moment of her life. Aside of these 2, there are surely others, and it just shows how nothing is really impossible in life." If you enjoyed the video, kindly give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section, and share with others. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.